Good evening and welcome everyone to our post-launch news conference for the SpaceX Commercial Resupply Services 1 mission. It's always a great occasion when we are here for a post-launch news conference, and we are pleased to be joined this evening by Sam Shamimi to my immediate left. Sam is director of the International Space Station from NASA headquarters in Washington, and by SpaceX President Gwynne Shotwell. We'll begin with some opening comments and then be happy to take questions. Sam?
Thanks. It's a great evening to be here in Florida. I would like to congratulate SpaceX on a beautiful launch and a successful deployment of the Dragon spacecraft into orbit. And I'd also like to thank all the other organizations that made this possible here tonight, including the NASA teams, the FAA, and the Air Force. And look forward to working with the SpaceX teams for a successful mission here in the next few days. Thank you.
My turn. Obviously, it's great to be here again this evening. Wanted to congratulate the SpaceX team. This is the first time we've lifted off at our planned first T0, which is excellent. We did insert Dragon into a picture-perfect orbit within 2 or 3 kilometers on both apogee and perigee, and Dragon is on its way to station. We also deployed the solar arrays for Dragon. The next big event for Dragon will occur in about an hour, and that is the GNC Bay door unlatching. That door needs to unlatch and fully deploy and lock itself in the open condition in order for us to successfully berth with the International Space Station. So we'll be looking for that to happen in the next hour or so.
Okay, we'll take questions here. We have traditional news media members as well as people from our NASA Social who are reporting on social media. We would like for you to please state your name, your affiliation, and to whom you're addressing your question. And we'll start with Marcia Dunn.
Marcia Dunn, Associated Press for Ms. Shotwell. Talk about the stress level at liftoff today. How does it compare to the one in May? And does the victory seem as sweet as it did some months back? And have you had any conversation yet with Elon Musk?
Elon and I have emailed back and forth a couple times. I've not talked to him. As soon as I heard that the solar arrays deployed, I had to jump in my car from LCC and get here. So it would be illegal for me to be emailing and talking on my cell phone. So, actually I was quite calm tonight, a little bit surprised, but everything was going so well. With the operations leading up to the final countdown. Definitely got the heart moving a bit at T-minus 10 seconds. But overall, this one was a little bit easier from my perspective. I'm not sure that everybody at the 2,000 men and women at SpaceX feel the same, but I'll find out when I fly home tomorrow.
In that little bit of exchange, what did Elon have to say about this?
Well, I congratulated him. He congratulated me. It was kind of email hugs, I guess you could say.
Bill?
Bill Horowitz, CBS. Well, I was just wondering if you did get a chance to call anybody. We were looking at some video, and it looks like at about 1:20 or so, there's a pretty good flash in the plume and some apparent debris coming out. And obviously you got where you were going, so it probably doesn't matter, but just curious.
Well, I do know we had an anomaly on engine 1. I have no data about it. I was trying to get the prop guys before I came in here tonight, but there wasn't enough time to connect with anybody. So I'll report on that tomorrow. We'll have a release on that tomorrow. But the Falcon 9 was designed to lose engines and still make missions, so it did what it was supposed to do.
And that would explain why you burn longer than I guess we were expecting.
That's correct. If you do have issues with an engine, you would end up burning longer to get where you need to go.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, down front.
Jim Siegel, Celebration Independent Newspaper. A question for either Sam or maybe Gwen. In the next year or so, what % of the ISS's needs are going to be supplied by SpaceX, and then separately by all of the commercial companies that you mentioned earlier?
I don't have a specific percentage-wise, but a large percentage of the needs for the utilization of the space station and the crew and vehicle needs will be fulfilled by SpaceX and eventually orbital as well.
Tariq Malik.
Thank you, Tariq Malik with Space.com for Gwen. Gwen, you mentioned I guess maybe the sense of more ease for this flight than back in May. But I'm curious if there's like a rubber stamp operationality now for the whole launch system. Now that you've, as you mentioned, you hit your first T0 on the dot this time, which I know my staff and I were talking about that as well. And I'm just wondering if that's the case. I mean, is there a point where you say we are completely operational? Is there always room for improvement? And I have a follow-up. Thanks.
Okay, well, for me, that's two different things, being operational and room for improvement. I think we will continue to always improve. We will learn from our flights and continue to improve the vehicle. Given that we are looking towards flying crew on these vehicles, we want to make sure that we address any and all items that we find and learn about with the vehicle to make it even more reliable. I forget the first part of your question. Sorry, Tarek.
Just about just declaring.
Are we operational? Air Force actually has a rule that after 3 flights, successful flights of a particular vehicle, you've demonstrated your design reliability, and after 7 to 9 additional more flights, after 7 or 9 flights, you basically have demonstrated your production, your QA systems, et cetera. So this was an operational mission, so we're operational. Doesn't mean we're not going to stop learning and ensuring that these vehicles are as reliable as we can possibly make them.
Mark?
Mark Ratterman with Talking Space. Question for Sam. You've got a variety of vehicles to carry cargo to the ISS for the international partners. How important is that, not to take away from SpaceX, because I know the country and everyone is thrilled to have this flight tonight, but how important is it for the variety with capabilities that each has?
To have the capabilities that the SpaceX has with the Dragon vehicle, especially with the return, is really critical to the utilization of the space station. It's also critical that we bring SpaceX, we have brought SpaceX on, and to bring Orbital on to us to be able to fully utilize the capability of space station and to ensure that we have a robust capability. Having dissimilar transportation capability as a space station is critical to its long-term health.
Okay. Stephen Clark with Spaceflight Now for Gwen. Just curious if you have an update on the deployment of the ORBCOMM secondary payload.
I do know we successfully deployed ORBCOMM, but I don't have any information other than that.
Okay, around front here.
Hi, Stacy Severn, NASA Social Media. Burning question, did the ice cream go up and what flavor?
It did go up, but I did not know the flavor. Do you know, Glenn?
Blue Bonnet vanilla with chocolate swirl.
All right. We're going to
I
take
wasn't
one.
going to come here without that answer.
Oh, well, good. We'll take one more question here, and then we'll go to our phone bridge and then come back.
All right, Sarah Zolkovic, NHK. This question is for Sam. At the podium, the administrator spoke about NASA's leadership with the international space industry. How does this partnership with SpaceX help maintain leadership for America?
Certainly, having the commercial supply of cargo and eventually crew will provide the U.S. to fulfill its leadership responsibilities in the International Space Station program. We have leadership responsibilities for crew and cargo and sustainment of the program, and it also provides a very broad capability here in the U.S. that is more likely to be more robust than our partners in such capabilities, since we have both government and commercial industry capabilities.
Okay, let's go to the phone bridge. We have TMC Satellite Spotlight on the line. Go ahead with your question, please.
Hi, Doug Money here. This is to Gwen. Can you talk a little bit about your manifest, both for the rest of this year and in 2013, what you have on the agenda, number one? And number two, if you could address, are you feeling more confident that you can meet manifest now that you've had basically 2 successful, well, knock on wood, 2 successful flights so far with Dragon and Station?
So the manifest, the next flight that we have on the Falcon 9 manifest is the SpaceX CRS-2 mission, which we have a 2-week window. We'll start that on or about January 18th of 2013. Then we have the rollout of the upgraded Falcon 9, which will fly Cassiope for Canada, SES, TICOM, ORBCOMM. We have CRS-3 and CRS-4 to execute next year, and we'd like to lift off the Heavy next year from Vandenberg Air Force Base as well. So am I more comfortable launching? No question. Every successful flight we have makes everybody feel a little bit better. Doesn't mean that we still don't have a really hard job to do. Yeah, so we still have a lot of work to do. Getting to station is still hard.
Did you have a follow-up question?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Back with Jim.
Jim Siegel again from the Celebration Independent newspaper. For Gwen, what aspect, what is the most difficult aspect of this mission from SpaceX's point of view?
Launch is always a worry moment, so there's no question that launch is tough. And then I think as far as the level of difficulty, it would be when you're approaching space station on the R-bar, and because you're basically in close proximity to the International Space Station. It's a crewed $100 billion orbiting body, so you want to be really careful as you do that. So it takes it's tough on the operators.
It has crew on it too.
Yes, yes, it has crew, right.
Todd.
Todd Halverson, Florida Today for Gwen. With the manifest you just laid out, it sounds like you're really going to have to pick up the pace in terms of production as well as launch operations. And I wonder whether you feel as if these first 4 flights of the Falcon 9 has prepared you to do that. And just as a follow, I was wondering if you could update me or refresh my memory on your eligibility to bid on EELV or other DoD missions. Thanks.
As far as production goes, we've known this moment was going to come for quite some time, so we've been preparing for production for many years. We're actually just completing a remodel of the factory to ensure that we can build these cores to meet our manifest and our customer requirements. So, frankly, I think the harder thing is getting 1 million pounds off the deck rather than building a bunch of these each year. I'm not going to trivialize that, but that's a royal problem to have. And you ask about EELV, I'd rather focus on this particular mission here today. On the other hand, we obviously are going hard after being able to compete for EELV missions.
Tarek?
Thank you. Tarek Malik with Space.com. I think for both Gwen and Sam, you mentioned some of the big steps coming up in an hour for Dragon, and I'm wondering about the cruise tomorrow, what you're going to be watching then in the spacecraft systems, or how the transition from launch to cruise to the station is going to go on the ground ops team. Thanks.
Want me to take that?
Yeah, I'm gonna take that.
Okay, so the G&C bay door is supposed to open and latch at 2 hours and 43 minutes into the mission. So 8:30. So actually, about an hour from right now, we'll be watching the relative all the navigation sensors over the next day or so. We will initiate our first co-elliptic burn about 21 hours into the mission, and then we'll be approaching station at about 48 hours. We'll be approaching station, not berthing in that time frame. And so what will be key to look out for is when we initiate the Cuckoo, the COTS UHF communications unit. That's the UHF comms that we have with the International Space Station. And then it's all LIDARs and thermal imagers.
Yeah, a question for Sam. Earlier you asked a little bit about NASA leadership, and you kind of answered it in the context of cooperation with the ISS. As the ISS program manager now, the U.S. will not be alone soon soon Chinese and the Indians are trying to catch up in space. The Chinese are working towards building a space station. In the context of this launch, how does this cooperation with SpaceX and your other commercial partners help the U.S. and NASA maintain that leadership role, given the burgeoning international competition in space?
It not only broadens the capabilities here domestically, but also to operate and do business in space, if you will. It also broadens the industry base on the ground, the employment in the various locations across the country, and in that way it strengthens not only the base of the industry, but also the capabilities that we're deploying in space. It also provide the basis for companies like SpaceX to do other things other than just go to space station eventually. So we're looking forward to that as well. So it's not just the government itself providing leadership, it is industry itself providing leadership as well. which is more than China or India or other countries are doing today.
Yes, this is James Tutton with Valencia Voice. I have a question for Ms. Shotwell. Are there any plans for the future in Florida and with SpaceX, like future employment or expanse in employment or anything like that?
Oh, there's no question we're going to continue to increase our employment here in Florida. I'm pretty sure we're going to overwhelm this range with launches of Falcon 9s and Falcon 9s and Dragons from here. I do very much look forward to bringing SES and TICOM here next year. Those vehicles or those launches would have otherwise gone either to the Russians, the Europeans, or the Chinese. So I'm really happy to be bringing those missions here to Florida.
Mark Ratterman with Talking Space. Question for you, Gwen. I appreciate the truth about the fact that this is not easy, that it is a difficult operation to do. Do you think anyone will catch you?
Catch me?
Catch SpaceX and the business that you're doing so well in?
That's an unfair question. Let's put it this way. SpaceX strives to be ahead of everybody. How's that? All our competitors.
Thank you.
Okay, around in the front row, Jim.
Jim Siegel, Celebration Independent News. A question for Sam, I believe. Are there certain types of payloads that are better suited than others for SpaceX, for Dragon, and so on, compared to, say, what the Russians are taking up to the space station?
Actually, the SpaceX Dragon and trunk capabilities are greater than what we can do, to say, on Progress for dry goods, for instance. Progress does have the capability to provide propellant on the Russian segment. So in some ways, it is more capable, but different capabilities than others.
All right. Seeing no further questions, I'll put you on the spot and see if either of you has any closing comments, and if not, we'll wrap it up.
I'd like to take the opportunity once again to thank NASA. SpaceX would not be where we are today without the help and support and leadership that they've provided us over since August of 2006. So I'd like to thank them again. Thanks very much. Also, the additional mission partners that we had here, the U.S. Air Force. Mike did clear the weather for us, which was fabulous. The FAA, and actually I'm going to give some kudos to FCC as well.
And I'd like to just congratulate SpaceX on going from where we were in 2006, which is quite a while ago now, it seems, to where we are today. I think the relationship has matured very nicely over the years. And today's launch and successful mission here will be proof of that. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. When we close, we're going to replay the launch, the great launch of the SpaceX Falcon 9 and Dragon on NASA television. And in the coming days, on Wednesday, October 10th, we'll begin coverage of Grapple at 3 a.m. Central Time, 4 a.m. Eastern Time. The actual Grapple should occur at 6:22 Central, 7:22 a.m. Eastern, and then we'll also carry coverage of berthing that will begin at 9:15 Eastern, 8:15 Central, and the actual berth will take place at 8:40 Central, 9:40 Eastern. Once again, thank you for coming. You can keep track of the mission at our website, which is www.nasa.gov/station. Have a good evening.
10, 9, 8, 7.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And liftoff. Liftoff of the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, launching Dragon to the International Space Station and returning cargo resupply missions to U.S. soil.